4 times. It's like you click go live, and then it's like, you sure you want to go live? And you click yes, I'm sure, and it's like, okay, click this button to go live, and you're like, I already wanted to go live. Can we not just go live? And we are live. Welcome to an episode of You'll Never Talk Alone. I'm your friend Joseph Craven. I'm joined by a man who obviously is very upset at Jurgen Klopp's usage of substitutes and rotations, Mr. Alex Lovell. It's just furious over there.
I didn't want us to win 7-0 because we just won 7-0 at Selhurst Park. I just want to go. I'm jumping in. We won 7-0.
Something that never happened in front of our very eyes. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel and also putting this podcast out later on for those of you that listen on the old pod afterwards. But our immediate reaction episode, not just to the Palace absolute drubbing that we just gave them, but also quick reaction to just the past week in general, and retaking top of the league and the significance of everything that we have accomplished the past week. Really great. But hey, let's start with what immediately just happened a minute ago. The 7-0 beatdown of Crystal Palace. Interesting result in particular, because I think watching that match, all of us could agree that, the best team lost.
Yeah. I'm very curious to hear Jose's comments in his pre-match press conference about our game.
I want to go on record to say that is the only time that we will comment on that, because clearly Jose just loves attention. We're not going to actually give him any attention. But it was I just had to make the obvious joke, and so I went for it. But, all right, 7-0 against Palace at Selhurst Park. Now, obviously, Selhurst Park, devoid of a rabid fan base like it normally would be, which, we've seen so far in Anfield how even having, 2,000 fans and all that makes a difference. Having, people to play in front of really makes a big difference. But that being said, this is something that never happens. This is a team whose personnel has always been a thorn in Liverpool's side. This is a lineup, a squad in particular that we always we just dread. We see them coming up on the schedule and we're like, oh my gosh, it's Palace. So this, I think I told you right beforehand, before we went live and hit record, was it almost felt like a little bit like we were exercising some demons.
Yeah.
By just piling it on. I mean, your thoughts on this match? What do you even say?
I mean, first of all, just it's the most obvious point, but like the parallelism of us scoring 7, having conceded 7 earlier in the season is absolutely huge. Like, this is going to do wonders for the squad this past week. I mean, getting a hard-fought victory against your closest title competitors, and then going out and putting on a performance like that, even when half of that match you should not have been up at all. You probably should have been behind by the amount of goals that you scored. So, I mean, there's just so many things about that performance, apart from the parts where we played really badly for half of it, are really going to help this team moving forward. And no injuries as well, which is always good.
Always good. Yeah, we were kind of texting back and forth and laughing during the first half about, first of all, it's the early kickoff time here in the U.S., so we were laughing about, like, just why are we awake? Why do we have to do this? But we were laughing about the fact that Jordan Ayew apparently was also not awake. Because if he had played a marginal percentage better in the first half than he did, especially with his finishing touches and his play right up in front of the Liverpool goal. If he had done just a hair better, this would be a completely different and competitive match, But it just kind of seemed like Palace for a while in there was playing better than Liverpool was playing, just not finishing better. And that was entirely the difference, because the moment that Liverpool had any opportunity, that Mane goal, that second goal of the match, the quick touch and then immediate strike, the quick turnaround, immediate strike, like it's the smallest the most narrow of opportunities to even attempt a shot, and he places it perfectly. So like that was the difference. I think that just the fact that, because we've seen it on our side as well, about how we have been, you and me personally on our YMCA league. No, we've seen with Liverpool how you can be doing everything right, but you just don't ever finish, and it breaks your spirit after a little while. And Palace shattered, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely broke.
Very much like an actual Crystal Palace that got hit by anything is just been destroyed.
So here's a question for you then. What do you think is the significance of a match like this? Because so far this year, we have not necessarily played super well. We've really played to the level of the opponents we've gone up against.
Yeah.
You know, we really have. And if it's been someone like a Brighton, and like, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of injuries, officiated, whatever it may be, that play into a lot of all of this, but like, we didn't play well against Brighton. We didn't play well against Fulham. You know, we didn't play well, you know, just kind of against the lower tier teams. To go up against a team like this and to beat them as thoroughly as we did. Obviously, Palace not in the bottom 5, but but they felt like it today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's the significance of being able to just win so handedly and obviously be the better team?
Well, it's a huge boost in confidence. I mean, the one complaint we had midweek was that like every shot we hit, apart from the 2 that went in, went right at Lloris. And someone clearly taught everyone on our team how to not hit the shot straight at the goalkeeper today. So, like, first of all, a huge boost to everyone's confidence finishing wise. I mean, and now we're getting contributions from everyone. We've got Bobby scoring again and scoring brilliant goals. We've got Minamino scoring his first league goal, like immediately. Like you could see what it meant to him too, and everyone was just so happy for him. And like now we've got more contributors that get the confidence boost. I mean, Naby gets to finish 90 minutes. Matip comes back from an injury and plays 90 minutes. Fabinho gets to solidify his position as like the best center back in the league, despite playing out of position. I mean, we just get positives from everybody. And I mean, we got to play Curtis Jones a little bit more. I mean, I know he's played a lot already, but we're getting to work him in, not exhaust him since he's just a kid. And I mean,
tiny child.
Yeah. And it weirdly, like, it's good to see how pissed off Mane was for coming off in that game, because it just shows like how hungry and how much desire this team has. So I mean, this will, like, it is, like I mentioned before, these past 2 games just back to back, the way they unfolded, it's absolutely massive for this team going into the busy season. Because like now we believe, I'm sure we already did, but now so many other people believe, like, okay, this Liverpool are still the title favorites. Liverpool are still the team to beat. And despite a rocky start, now they've completely reset the clock by balancing out that goal difference and actually getting more goals than the big loss that we had earlier.
Like, we've shown such resiliency dealing with injury crisis. We've shown resiliency dealing with, you know, some questionable officiating at times, which, I mean, and I don't say that as like a, like, woe is us, the officials are out to get us type of thing. I say that in a English officials have been bad in just about every match I've watched this year type of way. Like, the officials were not very good in the Fulham match, but it actually kind of benefited us in a lot of ways. You know, like, it's just like, they just haven't been great. And it's hard to, regardless of whether the calls are going your way or against you, when officiating is dictating the flow of the match and it's not the match dictating the flow of the match, it's not good. And so it throws things out. So we fought through a lot of that, which is always so nice. But now to finally, like, have some people coming back from injuries, to be a little bit more, like, obviously in match fitness coming out of no preseason, kind of a rushed into last season after a long hiatus, all of those things, all of those factors that go into it, to now see, okay, this is the team that's starting to actually hit on full stride again and look more like last year's team, where it doesn't matter who's out there. they're contributing. But even a deeper than that, I mean, it's just it's fun. There's a whole lot of positive for sure coming out of it. Whole lot of positive for sure. For anyone who is watching the YouTube video, Alex definitely obviously has a tongue-in-cheek comment as his lower third there about Jurgen Klopp being a fraud for playing Mohamed Salah because he has so many options as to who else he could have subbed in there, right? Why didn't we go ahead and put Adrian, up top? He needs more match fitness, right? He needs more.
I mean, I think my name is the answer to your question.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you think this does as far as, I guess, justifying the fact that Klopp is not making these statements to try to get a competitive advantage? That's a lot of people. It's going to appear that way, right? That he's going to go off on, just the cluster of matches. He's going to go off on all this stuff to try to get a competitive advantage. I think it's clear that's not the case. This team is very competitive, and that he is trying to make a point more so about player safety, all of those things. What do you think that a performance like this does in light of those comments to kind of justify his stance a bit more?
I mean, it actually probably doesn't really help his position, bringing on Salah. I know there's a lot of people. I mean, I was having some discussions this morning with some people that completely disagreed with Klopp bringing him on, and were like, "Well, Klopp now has no ground to stand on because he's bringing players like Salah on." And I mean, I can see why you would think that, and I sympathize with that point. And honestly, if we didn't need Salah, I wouldn't have want him to come on. But also, it's kind of those. It's just such an issue that's, in my opinion, so clearly not cut and dry. It's not to a point where Klopp can just say, "Oh, I need to rest players for player safety," and then just do it every match. We're still in a title race. We still need goal differential. Some players work better based on workload. I mean, he's obviously talking to the fitness team about which players can play when players can't play. Right. I mean, there's a lot of. We talk about bringing Curtis Jones on. Ideally, this is the kind of situation where we bring Curtis Jones on, and those are his minutes for the season, in this game, instead of being the third most played midfielder on our team so far this season. So, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the happiest that Salah needed to come on, although I am because of that performance that he gave.
But to get 2 goals in a minute and a half.
And in the, and it's just I personally think that the debate shouldn't be Klopp has opinions and then he does stuff that it doesn't exactly line up with that, and play the kids all the time. Mm-hmm. Which, in my opinion, as I've said, because I'm just using the phrase "in my opinion" over and over again because it's 8 a.m. Is that it's just not realistic to do that. This isn't FIFA, and the debate should be, why is there one league in all of UEFA that doesn't have 5 subs? Right. If we're going to talk about that, that should be the debate, not that one guy and some other managers are vocal about that and then not using all subs all the time. There's a really good thread by Rory Smith about this whole issue, and about how subs are calculated risks and not just things that you do. And that's exactly the case. I mean, we didn't make a single sub against Spurs, but to answer that question, who would we have brought on in a game that's tightly poised 1-1 against our closest title rivals? Right. Would we bring on Divock Origi?
No, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have had this discussion a lot, and I would like to be clear. I totally see the other side of it, but I just understand, or I'm trying to understand more why Klopp is doing what he's doing, because it's not just an easy issue to solve.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I mean, I've said on the podcast before that I don't necessarily, fully side with his comments. I can just kind of, I'm going to try to do my best to not completely agree with him just because I love him and want to be him, Yeah. Which is true. No, I'm going to try to analyze and be okay, do I actually agree with it? And, and there's a lot of aspects to it that, yeah, there's some times in which I kind of wish that maybe he wouldn't bring it up as often as he does. But at the same time, that it also, it just reminds me that this is something he cares about, and I do think that it is, in his eyes, always a player safety, sort of issue. And I thought I had something else I was going to add on to that, but I don't. Again, this is the early match. I'm still drinking my coffee right now as we record.
Your idea subbed out
It did.
in keeping with the topic.
And I tried to sub in one of the kids, but it didn't work out. But at the same time, I mean, to quote American football coaching legend Herm Edwards in one of the most quoted rants of any post-game press conference ever, you play to win the game. You don't come out and we didn't know that it was going to be 7-0 by the time all things were said and done. We didn't know that. But when it is 4, was it 4-0 when Salah came on? Yeah. It was 4. And you had a significant chunk of the second half still left to play, at least a half hour. You want to put out one of your best players, A, because you just want to remind him, or you want to keep him, in form whenever you can. B, we all know Mohamed Salah wants to play a full 90 constantly and wants to try to score all the time. He's a greedy player in a good way. And C, you don't want to run the risk of messing anything up and becoming a headline in the negative way. You play to win the game. You don't play to not lose. And so, sometimes you have to, Mane had an absolutely amazing game. Was obviously the best player on the pitch for the entire game. If he's got to come off and rest, why not substitute him for an equally talented player? So that you keep the performance up best you can. So, I'm never going to fault a manager for, playing to win and not playing not to lose, because that never works. It always backfires somehow.
And, it's another risk. It's a gamble from Klopp. Does the potential for this match to get out of hand in our favor outweigh the potential to rest some players and reconfigure the entire team to send on Reece Williams, Nat Phillips, and Nico Williams?
Yeah,
we have to completely rejigger the squad to make that work. And do we win 7-0? Do we keep a clean sheet? Do Palace finally start putting away some of their chances because everyone's all over the place? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. That's the risk that he took. Do I fully support it? Probably not. Right. Am I happy that we won 7-0? Absolutely. That's amazing. It made waking up balls early completely worth it. But, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's the risk paid off, obviously. And the part of the good news also, I think, with it and what, why he felt justified in doing it is the fact that, we actually don't have a midweek match. We get an entire week and an extra day. We're actually not playing until Sunday of the 27th. So he's got to look at it and go, okay, I'm not having to put out Nat Phillips and Reece Williams and Divock Origi. I'm not having to do all of that. I'm actually able to, rotate, quote unquote, Mane for Salah just this one time, because we're actually going to be able to recover over Christmas week. So, yeah, phenomenal outcome. Yeah, maybe we're not always going to fully agree with the decision. And yeah, obviously, he's a massive fraud and hypocrite. But anyway, no, it's great. So let's talk just a little bit about both in this match, but now looking back also to that outstanding finish, and just honestly a good match to watch.
Yeah,
between two good teams against Tottenham earlier in the week. It kind of sucks that Jose had to Jose at the end of it, because he could have just been like, man, that was a hotly contested game. We'll get him next time, and it would have been awesome. But no, he had to But Gini Wijnaldum recently
My goodness.
has been unfreaking believable. Talk just a little bit about that man and the form that he has been in this week.
It's marvelous, and it's the biggest advertisement ever by him to the club to renew his contract. I know the fans are clamoring for it. I'm clamoring for it. He's been brilliant. I mean, he's been so good in those tight spaces, because I feel like every 5 minutes in these past 2 games, you see him surrounded by 3 people, and he just nutmegs his way out of trouble and then distributes the ball. I mean, he's just able to be everywhere. And contributing, being on attack, being on defense, being selfless. Like he's doing the not standout role and standing out. And I think that's the most incredible part about it. He's just been fantastic, and we would not have had either victory without him playing.
Right.
And that's just huge. And so I'm glad that he's there, glad that he didn't get injured, glad he can get some rest now for this week and a day. But yeah, I mean, we've been through so many injuries, and I think even now we're still taking it for granted that he has not had to miss any game through injuries.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely we are. Absolutely we are. He's one of those guys that, we talk, there's some matches in which his performance and his impact aren't as obvious, but then there's matches like we've had recently where it is super obvious how important he is. And being the guy who obviously has been at the center of a lot of contract discussion and contract talk about whether he's moving away, any of that, it's pretty clear he also wants to put on performances that show his value.
Yeah.
So that no matter where he ends up, he makes that money that he's worth. In American sports leagues where contracts are structured much differently. And free agency is an actual thing, which is very much not the case really in soccer. But in those leagues, like a contract year when that contract's about to go, that's always when you see a player perform their best, because they're going to try to earn that big money contract. Now, the thing is with this, it always ends up that the player that earns the big money contract the very next year
plays like crap.
is a complete shell of who they were. So, hopefully this does not mean that we overvalue, Genie to the point of spending too much money on him, which, as I'm saying it, I'm like, this is FSG. There's no, what am I even saying? We don't spend money on players. But it'd be curious to see. I hope that he could continue the current run of form and his current importance and value to the team if he stays, or if he decides to go elsewhere. I hope that he goes into, because it's kind of the tail end of his career. He is getting into his 30s now, and continues this way, and just because he just is a class act, great player. It seems like a great dude. I don't know. It's just great. I hope that no matter what happens to him, it's for the best.
Yeah, and you hear about him giving the rousing speech before the Spurs match. He's clearly a leader, even when we've got a lot of leaders. He was the one who was fired up and coming in. And when Genie gets pissed, Genie gets really, really good, clearly, as we saw against Barcelona a few years back. And then this past week, and just keep him mad all the time. Someone just follow him around, just kind of slap him in the face a few times, just keep him mad.
I think it must have been James Pierce on the Red Agenda at some point or something like that. They made a comment about how, the rumors of Genie to Barca are still abounding. And he was like, why in the world would you want to leave Liverpool for Barcelona at this point in time? Why would you want to leave a club that is taking England again, possibly, trying to make a serious push for the double in the Champions League as well? Why would you want to leave that for the state that Barcelona is in?
A team that cannot pay you. They don't have the money to pay you at this point.
Oh, man, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. But anyway, that Tottenham match in general, as we mentioned, really entertaining match. Two good teams. obviously a lot of the statistics point in Liverpool's favor, but if you watch it, a lot of the performance, like on the pitch, the stuff that you actually, because numbers can lie, and not to give him much more attention, but Jose does have a point when he says possession stats are like overcooked meat.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird statement, but it's true. Possession stats oftentimes don't really mean anything. Because, style is style, but like you watch it, the eye test, actually watching the teams, you could tell that like Liverpool was playing much better. And if it were not for the performances of, pretty much just Serge Aurier, Pierre, Emile, it's too early. I'm my brain. Højbjerg. We'll just say Højbjerg. And
Hodberg.
Hodgeberg, Bajurg, and Son. If not for those three players, like Tottenham would have gotten 7-0. They would have gotten palaced. But those three players were outstanding. But Liverpool as a whole also outstanding. Your take on that match in general? I mean, the two best teams in the Premier League, clearly, after watching that?
Definitely. I mean, the two most organized, cohesive teams in the league, and the two that just, they were so diametrically opposed, but they're so good at what they want to do. Apart from us not being able to finish, that was the one thing that was missing in that match. Is like again, like you just mentioned, if we had finished like we did today, that match is like 7-0 in the first half because we had so many chances, and they had their one and they took it. And the better team lost thing. They did have good chances. They did not take them.
Right.
And we had more of the ball. We had a lot more chances than people seem to be giving us credit for. And then we took the chances that we got, or some of them. And that's just what it takes to win. And so, it was just a fantastic match. And the run of play probably deserved that result that we got. And the Bobby goal, the Bobby celebration, that was just the perfect way to crown that match and say to our closest title challengers, like, know your place.
Yep. We could say what we want about, like, possession stats or whatever it is, but 11 shots on goal.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of them were not great attempts that did go directly to Hugo Lloris, as you kind of referenced earlier, but 11 shots on goal, like we're getting not just looks, but good enough looks. It just kind of seemed like it was one of those things where after a little while, absolutely something was going to break. And it just so happened to be a perfectly placed corner, a perfect run by Bobby, perfect timing by Tim Sherwood. It's just like the whole situation's so good. So perfect. It just was one of those things where it's a great match, but like at the end, the team that, just flat out was taking the chances finally got one more to work out. And it seems to have bled into the performance
today.
This morning.
Yeah, jeez.
So absolutely just outstanding. This whole week has been great. The whole week has been great. I guess, as we kind of get to the tail end here of what is, a quick little Saturday recording session, I do want to get your thoughts on the Champions League draw, because we have not had a chance to discuss that on the podcast yet. But obviously, not until Tuesday, February 16th, will we actually have this issue in which we get back into Champions League play. But a draw against RB Leipzig. Tell us a little bit about Leipzig right now. Obviously, we're big fans of them for eliminating United from the Champions League, but it doesn't mean that we want to have to go up and face them now. That's not cool. Tell us a little bit about Leipzig, what to expect, and how what they're looking like right now.
They are coping pretty well with the loss of Timo Werner. They have decided that their new number 9 is Angelino, their left back. They're playing a false 9, but at the left back role. They've been really good this season. I think they're just 1 point behind Bayern or level with Bayern at this point. But they've honestly just, the only thing holding them back from being flat out top is the fact that they play with so many young players that this is the problem that players, teams that tend to focus on young players and have like a core of under 24 players, they have is that sometimes when the going gets tough, they can't really figure it out. The pressure gets too much for them. I mean, you see it pretty much with Dortmund every year in the Bundesliga, and the same thing kind of happened with Leipzig. But they seem to have this cutting edge. They're very flexible. I think that's one thing that we will need to be wary of is that they have a lot of different looks, and it's been pretty annoying for Bundesliga fantasy because you just can never count on how they're going to play and who's going to play and what formation they're even going to play. So, I mean,
thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. So they'll clearly have a plan. They've got an exciting young manager with a very weird wardrobe. I mean, he has grown a lot since the last time he came to Anfield, and I don't think he's going to be one of the guys that are like, oh, Anfield doesn't mean anything.
He's physically grown? Like he went from like 5'6" to 6'2" or something?
Maybe not height-wise, but diameter-wise. The success in drinking nothing but Red Bull for the past 2 years, all that sugar has just kind of absorbed all the water. But no, it's going to be a great match. They've already announced that they're adding 2 players to their squad. I don't know if we'll see them. We'll probably see Dominic Shaka Laka Blaka.
The one and only.
Yeah. But I mean, they've just got so many exciting players that may or may not end up on our team next season. So it's going to be a great match. It's going to be high octane. And it's not really any reason to be nervous, but it's just, I mean, they're a good team and they could get a result. So we're going to have to be like we were today, except for the first part of this game today.
Right. Exactly. All right, that's going to wrap up, I believe, our little quick recap, quick reaction episode. Wow, I'm glad that we have an entire week in which we get to just kind of bask in beating Tottenham to jump back on top of the league, but then also putting up a 7-goal performance against Palace.
Can you say that again?
It's a 7-goal performance. Unbelievable. Oh, I just love it. I'm going to be watching like replays of this. I'm going to be watching a replay of Andrew Robertson's assist to Bobby Firmino.
Oh my gosh.
Just over and over again, because he could not have placed that pass any more perfectly for Bobby's run. That was unreal. Just like every single goal was chef's kiss. Masterpiece. All right. Thank you for tuning into this episode. For Alex Lebel over there, I'm your friend Joseph Craven. We'll send it over to Andrew Ainsworth to sign us out. Andrew, take it away. That's it.